good afternoon, Michel. Do I pronounce it right?
You got it.
Michel Sauret. I think it's a French heritage. Thank you for joining me here at my podcast in this dreary weather. Pittsburgh, it was great last week, but now I guess we have to face that the fall is here.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So usually I start, sometimes I forget where my guest is from because Pittsburgh is large. So let me cut out here for my audience. Michelle from Springdale.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So it's about 18 miles away from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, a good 30-minute commute on 28, but 28 can be a disaster. So that could turn to 45 minutes.
Forever.
It could be 45 minutes.
It's been in construction forever too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then near Oakmont, there's an Oakmont Bakery. It's my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Let me cut back to you. And so, were you born here in Pittsburgh? Were you a Yinzer?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely consider myself a Yinzer, but so I was born in Rome, Italy, in the center of Rome. We could walk from the apartment where I grew up to the Vatican within probably a 30-minute walk if you're hoofing it. And that's where my dad used to work as a civil servant for the Vatican. And we came to Pittsburgh, to the United States. We immigrated here when I was 10 years old in 95. And the pinpoints of my transition from Italian heritage and citizenship. My father's French, so I do have French heritage. Between being an Italian and becoming an American is that the year before moving from Italy lost the World Cup to Brazil, and I came to Pittsburgh, and the Pittsburgh Steelers lost the Super Bowl to the Dallas Cowboys, 94-95. The year I became a U.S. citizen, which is 2005, Italy won the World Cup. Pittsburgh Steelers won the Super Bowl.
Wow!
So it was a good marker for kind of the transition. I became from a loser. No, I'm kidding. From a loser to a winner. No, it's nice to. I'm so bad with dates. It's nice to kind of remember those dates just based on historic, sporting events.
Yeah, probably. I don't know, I should create a short story, but from losing to winning.
Yeah, so it's cool.
So do you speak, how many languages do you speak?
I'm fluent in Italian. I'm not any good at French. I have a lot of French relatives, and we're on a WhatsApp channel with cousins and aunts and uncles and great aunts and uncles, and I have no clue what they're saying most of the time. So I'm usually translating if I'm trying to catch up on life in France. My family size and relatives in Italy is really, really small. I really have just one aunt living in Italy, but I have some friends still very fluent in Italian. I've taken my wife and the kids back to Italy several times. Last time we went was with all 5 kids. It was on Christmas 2 years ago now, whatever that was, 2023 Christmas. We didn't get the kids any Christmas presents. They came downstairs, the bags were packed, and just said Buon Natale, and we just went to the airport and went to Italy. And the birth rate in Italy is really low, and it was really a lot of fun. As we were walking around Italy, usually I'd let my wife take the front as we were kind of going through narrow streets, and have a file of kids behind her so I can take the back and watch everybody and just make sure that all the kids are safe. And every time I'd see Italians walking past us, counting heads, trying to figure out how many kids we have. After a while, I would just say, I would just save them the hassle and be like, cinque. It's yes, we have 5 kids. So it was great. I love having a lot of kids, and it tickles me whenever people react to it.
Yeah, me too. And I found out about show on Facebook. I think it's through Terry Clark, quite famous photographer in Pittsburgh. Yeah, and then I noticed that you have 5 kids, and it's like, the only other person that I knew from my day at the corporate in San Jose, it was a friend of mine who also has 5. I think more. Because not because, but he's a Mormon, so he has a lot of kids. So I was like, okay, that's there's a story about it. But we're gonna get back to that.
Sure.
It's in my cheat sheet list that I like to ask you about that. So, why Pittsburgh from such a megapolitan city in Rome, and then
I mean, it was just through my father's connections. His career. It's not that career wasn't going well. He was having some tension, some conflicts within his office, and somehow he got connected to a wealthy person who had connections with universities here in Pittsburgh. And he was, because my father also has a PhD in philosophy and theology and Catholic doctrines. He was invited to become a professor at Duquesne University originally. And so I think it was always my dad's dream to live in the United States. I moved when I was 10. I also I was one of 5, so I was in the middle. So my parents, with 5 kids of their own, moved from Italy to Pittsburgh. And my parents barely knew any English when we came. Yet somehow my dad was teaching philosophy and theology at Duquesne University. And so that was the connection point. In high school, we did live in Corpus Christi, Texas, and I've lived other places through the military, Illinois, Baltimore, North Carolina, and I've explored other parts of the country through travel and whatnot. And Pittsburgh has a lot more to offer than people give it credit to. It was often, when living in Chicago or Baltimore or North Carolina, there are things missing. It wasn't just like, oh, it's family that's missing. It's like just something as simple as pizza. And now you're going to probably think to yourself, well, you live in Chicago, right? That's like a hub for amazing pizza. I would argue that the best pizza in Chicago is in the freezer aisle. I do love, I'm going to make so many enemies on this show. I had so much hate mail. So I do love the deep dish. I'll say that. But the only other option you have in Chicago is this like flat, like no structure, like no texture, round pizza cut into squares. It's always cut into squares, and it's appallingly bad. Then, Baltimore is the rivalry between Baltimore and Pittsburgh, so it didn't feel like home. North Carolina was close to Fort Bragg, kind of the center of the state, and not a whole lot of stuff around, even though it was a military hub. So Pittsburgh felt like absolute home after moving and living all these places between Texas and the other states I mentioned. Pittsburgh definitely felt like home.
So when you move around, you already joined military, right?
In Texas, it was a family move. Everything else was it was a military move.
So after your dad joined Duquesne, and then you guys moved to Texas.
Yeah, in high school for only a couple of years. It was very, very short later in life. So we moved to Pittsburgh, lived in Pittsburgh from elementary school until high school. Then my senior year of high school, moved to Texas because my dad got a job as a academic dean of a very small Catholic college. I escaped Texas. I didn't like living in Texas, actually.
Wow.
To go to Pitt. So I went to Pitt for English writing.
Oh, okay.
And but I joined the Army in Texas, in Corpus Christi. I joined when I was 17.
Okay.
A year after 9/11.
Was that part of the junior ROTC kind of?
No, it had. I had never participated or joined ROTC or junior ROTC. It was just a straight enlistment. I was 17. Recruiters were there at the lunch area.
Yeah.
I talked to them, and I just wanted to join. I saw at the time, because again, I was one of 5 kids, right? I knew how much college costs for my parents, and I was the third in line, and I could hear my parents talking about the cost of college for my oldest sister, and then my next older sister, and then it was going to be me. I primarily joined the Army because I didn't want to put that financial burden on my parents. And I wanted to be independent. I wanted to be able to take care of myself. So the Army essentially, one way or the other, ended up paying for all my college, either through GI Bill, student loan repayment, or just by having income to be able to pay for my tuition and my education.
Yeah. So let's now since you mentioned it, I think let's talk about this further, because I think it's good for our audience. So you were still in high school, but then you got yourself enlisted, right? So how did it work? How did you serve? I mean, was it just only weekends only, or what is the obligation between your education and the military?
Yeah, so I was 17, and initially when you join, you can attend it was Army Reserve.
Okay.
So you can attend your monthly battle assemblies without having yet gone to basic training. So I was essentially enlisted, going about battle assembly weekend drills, not having an MOS, not having an actual designation. I was kind of like a placeholder. After graduating high school is when I went to basic training, and then my MOS school, AIT. And I originally joined so I served most of my military career as a photojournalist and content media creator and public affairs professional. But I first joined as a track vehicle mechanic, which meant, tanks and track vehicles that have tracks that can move in rough terrains, but not necessarily, they were up armored, but not necessarily armed. So it didn't have to be like with cannons and weapons and guns attached. It was a school basically to be a mechanic. And I quickly realized when I was in that school that I was terrible at that job. Absolutely terrible at that job. So I'm not a big guy now, but imagine in high school, I was like 120 pounds, 123 pounds, super skinny. And to decouple one of the links in a track, you have to get, depending on the tracks, but you have to get like this pretty enormous, for me it was enormous, like 40 some pound bar, jam it in and like pry it out. And so you have to imagine this 123 pound kid like bouncing up and down on this bar, trying to decouple the tracks. And not that I'm claustrophobic, but it's also super tight in those vehicles and running schematics. And it felt like the pictures in the book that I was learning from looked nothing like what was inside the vehicle. Like this is terrible. This is like the worst MOS I could have picked. And I picked it only because it had a good signing bonus. It was like a $5,000 bonus, I think, which is good money for me at the time.
Yeah.
So when I graduated my military school and I enrolled in Pitt, moved from Texas back to Pittsburgh on my own. My family was still in Texas. As soon as possible, I'd try to find a different job within the military. Still in the reserve. And then, so by the airport is Coriopolis. There's an Army Reserve Center there. So it was in that building that I discovered public affairs, because I was going to Pitt to learn how to write. And the closest thing available was the career in public affairs.
So I have two questions.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first question is, when you move here as a 10-year-old, right?
Yep.
And I assume that your English was minimal.
Terrible.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew like a dozen words. That's it. Maybe.
Okay. So, like, probably question like some of my audience, especially me.
Yeah.
Did you get bullied?
I got mocked. I wouldn't say I got bullied. I got mocked quite a bit. I remember one story when, I was 10 years old in elementary school in 5th grade, and I didn't speak very well. I didn't know a whole lot of language. But you can always understand more than you can speak, right? And I remember I had to do like a project with a girl, whatever, like asking each other questions. I don't remember what it was, but I had to work. It was a mini assignment in class. And then we went back to the group. So everybody was split up to one-on-one little assignment. Then we went back to the group, and she goes to her friend and goes, Michel's not that weird. And I understood that. It's like, okay, all right. So, people thought I was weird because I didn't speak English, and I got mocked because I didn't know how to speak, but not bullied, not in a way that I mean, my name was Michel, so that was not easy, but I probably got bullied more for my name in basic training with military than I did in school.
So in high school, I assume probably your English was much better.
Yeah, my English improved within a couple of years of moving to the United States. And actually, it was a lot thanks to that TV show In Living Color.
Oh, wow.
You remember? With Jim Carrey?
Yeah.
It was like the Saturday Night Live. It was kind of like, I thought it was hilarious. We watched that all the time. Just watching TV. We did have an instructor at school that was an ESL, English as a Second Language instructor that helped. But within 2 or 3 years, my English was fine. I just had a strong accent. And then probably by high school, my accent disappeared. Or merged.
Totally disappeared. I mean, I couldn't even tell. I can share my own story because when I moved, it was...
How old are you when you moved?
I think 20, almost 19.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot harder.
And and then I attended community college, and my teacher, it was not an ESL teacher, just like an English teacher. And then she told me, okay, Will, your assignment. Okay, number 1, pick a soap opera.
Why soap opera?
Then watch it. Okay, as you get better, and then I will tell you to watch PBS NewsHour. With John Lehrer, and I forgot the other person. Why soap opera? Because they always enunciate so clearly, close up. You could see the mouth, the tongue, the teeth when they're
Interesting.
talking.
I didn't know that.
So and then you just follow it, you mimic what they say, and including the facial expression, whatever. And then when you're good enough, and then show the teeth, show the professor, and it's just okay. It's time for you to do PBS NewsHour, right? Because PBS NewsHour also, they say it slowly, but then clearly, formal.
Yeah.
And and then my brother told me, okay, now you understand all this, understand at least, you can comprehend. Now, if you want to be American, you have to understand the jokes by Johnny Carson. You not only understand, but you have to understand the nuance, like what is the background story? What is the blah, 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 the politics?
That's a good curriculum right there for you.
Yeah. And it was like, okay, it's my excuse, to watch Johnny Carson at 11:30, or I think it was at 11:35. Right. So, so that's how I learned English, and American English to be specific.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So then my second question is, from your track mechanics position or job, and then you move to photojournalism. Was photography your hobby then, or how fluent are you with that?
Yeah, photography was kind of forced upon me because, again, I wanted to go to college to become a writer. I wanted to be a novelist. I wanted to write books, or at least a feature writer. So the closest thing available was public affairs. And when I joined, at the time, that MOS, the military occupational specialty, if you couldn't just be a journalist, you also had to be a photographer. So it was a kind of a combined job specialty. So it was thrust upon me and kind of forced for me. And I really didn't love or care about photography one bit. And when I deployed in 2008 to Iraq as a public affairs photojournalist for the Army, that's when, if I wanted to go out and do stories on the soldiers, the situation on the ground, and the partnerships happening between us and the Iraqi forces, I also had to bring a camera. And it was just really learning, literally on the fly, from helicopters and from traveling the country, that I learned photography. And from there, when I came back, I was in college still, so my college got disrupted. Came back to Pittsburgh after that deployment, and when I submitted a resume to do an internship with the Pittsburgh Post Gazette, when they saw that I'd done photojournalism, they split up my internship between breaking news journalism and photography. I did not want to do photography. I just want to be I want to be a writer. But, thank God, praise God. I don't say that in any way sarcastically. Thank God that they did that, because I was a terrible journalist. I was probably by far, they probably would have the Hall of Shame of breaking news interns that they've ever had. I would fit in that category. I was terrible as a breaking news journalist. But when they switched me over to photography, I think everybody at the news desk probably got a sigh of relief. It's like, all right, let's get rid of this guy. And I started loving it. And I thought that I was going to hate photography, or that I tolerated it. It's like, oh, it's part of the job. I have to do it. But it really allowed me to go out. And one thing I've said to different people in different times is that when you have a camera in your hand, as a photojournalist especially, but even as different genres of professional photographers, it's your access pass to go places where you don't normally belong, or where you don't normally fit in. And so a camera in your hand often allows you to enter spaces and places and stories that either you know nothing about or you simply have no experience with. And as long as you do it with passion and good intention, people welcome you as a photographer, depending on certain parameters. But for the most part, I've had the world open up the moment I picked up a camera.
Right. I think also it depends, right? Because right now probably people are more open. But I don't know. I'm trying to qualify as I'm saying it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because people right now are so afraid that their pictures aren't going to be posted on the social media, and then you're going to be abused. And now with the AI especially, it's crazy and what they can do. But just like a still picture now become, they can make it move and do stuff, right?
Yep.
And I was taught when I took a workshop in LA for street photography, and then the teacher told me that, if you're not comfortable, you just own that place, own that area. We want to take a picture of certain angles, certain lights, certain whatever at the corner. You stay there, do nothing for 10, 15 minutes.
That's tough.
That
is so tough to do.
Just do nothing. And then, so people know, and then especially then, right? I mean, this was a long time ago. There's no mirrorless. I mean, right? It has a big ass, like a DSLR. So they know you're a photographer, and now dress like one, right, or whatever, right? And when you own that space, people know, okay, if they don't want to be taken, then they walk around you, make sure they're not in front of you. But then if you're there, if you've been there longer than they are, it's a public space. You have right to take picture of anyone in public space.
Yeah, not only so. I used to be such a shy kid, very lacked confidence. And when I became a photographer, in the process of producing images as a profession, I became so much more confident, because you had to, in order to be good at that job, you have to be confident and comfortable in who you are and what you're doing. And to the point where sometimes I would if I had a camera with me and I was out to dinner and just whatever, the lighting was right, and there was just a moment from all the way across the restaurant. In fact, this happened in Germany when I was traveling with another buddy. And when I just stand up and I go make that photo, oftentimes people are like, you can't do that in here. You can't do, like people that I'm with, like, you can't do that in here. I'm like, watch me. I'm doing it. It's like some people get so uncomfortable. It's like, why are you taking photos in here? But if you're confident and you have good legitimate reason to do so, because you're not you have no bad intentions, you're just simply there to capture the moment or the atmosphere or whatever, there's a lot you can do. It just increases your level of assurance in the moment.
I think I'm comfortable taking pictures anywhere in the United States. But I think if I go outside the country, I have to look at ChatGPT first. What's the law here?
I haven't had any. So I was in Japan and Thailand this year. Japan was in May. Thailand was in August. And I was told, especially in Japan, in fact, in Japan, some people may know, they require that all cell phones make a noise. You can't turn it off if you take a picture in public.
While you're talking about all this photography stuff, which is very exciting, why don't we take a look at your shots? So I have LinkedIn, I have Instagram, and also have Facebook.
If you want, you can just go to my website, sauretphoto.com.
Okay.
Might be the easiest way of doing it.
All right, let me.
And I do have some Japan stuff there. If you scroll down.
Okay, wait a second. So everybody can take a look at it. Okay.
Go to actually the top where it says the portfolio and whatnot. There should be an assignment. And drop down the assignment. See if there's Japan. Yeah, there you go. So this trip I did it was kind of like my 40th. I turned 40 this year, right before going to Japan, and that's one of my good Army buddies. His name is Justin Morelli, and he's a world traveler. He's been to more countries than I could ever accomplish to visit the rest of my life. And we both love photography. He's a military photographer, outstandingly talented, super talented. And I was turning 40. I wanted to go to Japan. My wife had no desire to ever visit Japan, none. And because I knew Justin travels a lot, loves to travel, has done guide trips in the past, he joined me and we rocked it. So most of the photos in here are mine, and I included some of his work as well as we go through these. Well, yeah, so that's me and him just taking a few selfies, but some of the photos I did are below.
So you're carrying really heavy stuff, like all this.
Yeah, so that was a gimbal to do some video work as well.
Yeah, full-size equipment, yeah.
And so, yes, in Japan, it is considered rude to take photos of people in public. And yet, I mean, I was doing it, Yeah. I would make sure it was okay. Sometimes you have to capture the moment and just grab it and then make it right after. Because if you talk to somebody, it's like, hey, can I take a picture of you? Then everything changes. Right. You know that as a street photographer.
Right.
And I don't consider myself a street photographer. Not in the, I guess, classical sense. So oftentimes I would just do the photos, and not like I apologize later, but like I'd take the photos and then make sure I made it right to let them know that I was just there to document and capture images. So most of the stuff is more travel in style. So those are Justin's images. So this is not my typical work, but more of my typical work, we can also check out my military stuff in later. Okay. Is more documentary, and then little by little became more commercial in quality. That's mine. I just love bold colors. I love high saturation, big contrast. Yes. I kind of grew up in photography at a time where actually the opposite was becoming popular, where I started as a wedding photographer. And a lot of wedding photographers would like desaturate everything, turn everything brown, kill the greens, kill all the colors. It's fine. It's just working for them. I try, and every time I attempted that style, I'm like, oh, well, so-and-so's really popular and so-and-so's really, really successful. I got to do my photos like theirs. Every time I try to edit my photos that way, I hated them. And then one day I discovered just a photo I came across just my social media feed. And I think it was just, a lady holding a giant array of balloons on a string. And it was just so vibrant and so full of color. And I thought, that's actually how I want my images to look. And so I went completely the other way.
So when you started your photojournalism in the military, was it digital already, or was it?
Yeah. Okay. So in Iraq, my first camera in hand in Iraq, I think was the Nikon D200. And then I came home from that deployment. I was already married. And for Christmas, I bought a Nikon D300S. And that was like, at the time, like such a revolutionary camera. And I started my photo business doing wedding photography with a Nikon D300S. So I've stuck with Nikon my entire career. I've more than familiar with Canon. It was the last 4 years of my profession. I was working for the government, and it was all Canon equipment, so I'm ambidextrous in those two brands. But Nikon's my brand of choice.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah, if you want, scroll up to, let's check out some of the military stuff. I haven't even looked at, I mean, obviously this is my website, but I haven't updated my military stuff in a while, and I do think there's some things. You go portfolio. Yep, and then second one down.
Yeah.
This is probably more my bread and butter.
Yeah, I remember that about the color saturation when, I took classes, for this, and, the instructor said, okay, if you want, this is like when using film, right?
Yeah.
If you want to get saturated, colors, use slide film.
I wouldn't even know how to do that. So my trick for getting good saturation is underexposed images, exposed for the highlights, and that really allows your skies, your gunfire, your sun flares, and whatever light sources to become much more vibrant.
Yeah.
I don't like images where things are blown out, unless obviously it's a silhouette.
Yeah, or like this one, like
Right.
there's a parachute. It's just awesome because we could get the right exposure for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even that gunfire image in the middle, I would have loved to underexpose that a little bit more to get more details in that in that muzzle flash.
Okay. So let's talk shop a little bit about that picture. Is that one shot? Is that a burst?
Oh, a burst, man. I mean, I live with, I have so many mentors where I'm embarrassed by how many photos I take. I burst for sure. And especially gunfire. It is extremely difficult to time photos with gunfire because you don't know when they're going to pull the trigger. So you have to anticipate way before they're even thinking about pulling that trigger. And obviously, like, I'm not telling them when to do it, so I have to be ready. So I would just burst through, and I've missed many, many shots. And the equipment is these days has made it so much easier.
Right. Yeah. I have no problem too. Like with the bursting my tons of images. I remember at the one workshop. This is the first street photography shop that I took. The instructor said, "I only do one click."
Yeah, I would be out of a job if that was like a requirement. I'd be flipping burgers. I don't know.
Yeah. I like it. Wow. So was there any picture here that was taken in the combat deployment?
No, all those are training environments. My Iraq photos, I was not a good photographer in Iraq. Again, I was just getting into it. There's only one image that I love from my time in Iraq, but it was more because of what it meant to me at the moment. Unfortunately, the memories of history has kind of tainted my memory of that image since. But my photography in Iraq, there's a website called Divids. If anybody's served in the military or is a military photographer, you know what I'm talking about. And you can go back to all my published images in the military and still look. So a point of inspiration, hopefully, for anybody who's watching, like, I love the work that I'm doing now and that I've done. But if you were to look back where I started and look back at my early years of photography in Iraq, you could see a huge change in experience and professionalism. The one photo that I photographed in Iraq that I loved was during the opening of a new airport in Najaf, which is central area of Iraq. And it was a big turning point at the time of more transportation opening. Again, I keep saying at the time, it seemed like major progress was happening in that country. And there was a moment where all these girls, I was taking photos of the ceremony celebrating the new opening of the airport. And there's this moment where all these little girls and kids were just fighting for my camera. And like I had girls, just little Iraqi girls in their covers, but giant smiles, big eyes, all like fighting to be in my camera. And they were like within maybe 12 inches of my lens. And there's just this one moment where they're all just packed in. It was cool. It was just a really, in fact, I get emotional even thinking about that moment. And that was in 2008. So those, young girls. Hopefully they're still there. They're women by now.
Yeah. So how many deployments?
Just one deployment. I have not actually, unlike, again, my friend Justin, who has been all over the world through the military, not just deployments, but for different opportunities. I never really got a chance to go travel the world with the military, just mostly stateside. Even after 21 years, 21 years in service, but because most of that was the Army Reserve, and I was part of the AGR program.
Which is?
Yeah, AGR, excuse me. AGR stands for Active Guard Reserve. You're essentially you're on active duty orders. You're a full-time soldier, but working for the Army Reserve. And so you're more of a staff personnel. I did travel a lot, again, to document military training in that capacity. But when you join that program, there's a lot of opportunities you can't take advantage of. Without getting too technical, there's called ADOS tours. You can't jump on ADOS tours. And an ADOS tour allows you to jump on a mission for a year. It could be in Africa, it could be in Italy, it could be Hawaii, it could be anywhere in the world where they have a need. But once you're in an AGR program, you're stuck in that billet and you're assigned to a specific unit because they're full-time support. Yeah.
So were you happy with that, or you wish that you were in the...
I mean, I'm proud of my time of service. I don't wish that I had more deployments. I mean, that takes a toll on a service member. I'm not ashamed of not having more. It's just how it's just how the career unfolded.
Yeah.
I'm proud of the service that I completed. And again, ultimately, I believe in God's providence. So he put me in all the places where I needed to be.
Yep. And I know, honestly, it shows in your pictures.
Thank you.
It is amazing. I think, right? If you, like you said, it's in a controlled environment, or can control. You can do retake, or obviously not this celebration. But it's more controlled than, of course, with the live combat with live fires, right?
But even so, with training environments, you can't just say, "Hey, soldier, stop for a second. Do that again." You are truly documenting,
right?
Things. So there are some opportunities to pose portraits, for example. Those below are portraits that I posed, but majority of the time you have to be ready. That image of that soldier in I think that's Humvee from the turret in the dust. I'm just riding along in a convoy, and images are happening in front of me, and I just got to capture on the go.
Right.
You can't slow down the mission just because you want a photo.
Exactly, right. So this is like a studio, or it is like a live active. The difference is just like nobody's aiming at your head, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to shoot you, right?
Yeah, it was never conflicting. There was no conflict or danger. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it was wonderful, and I could see that, and then it transforms and transfers to your commercial work. All these saturations, all the deep color, all this contrast.
Thanks to awesome. It really is thanks to my military photojournalistic career that I now am able to do work for commercial clients and for brands and businesses to promote their services. Yeah. I could never imagine when I was 17 years old that I'd be creating images for, say, Caterpillar or other companies in this area, or national brands.
Yeah. So when did you retire from this military?
Yeah, so I'm not officially retired, even though I have 21 years. I'm in limbo right now. I'm in the IRR.
So many acronyms.
I know. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's
the worst. There's so many dumb acronyms and so many stupid terms in the military. But so I'm not retired. I'm in, call it gray limbo. I can so I don't have a commitment to service. I don't have to do battle assembly. I'm not required to do any military duty. So, but I'm still in the system until I put in my retirement packet, which will probably be when I turn in my 59th years when I can be officially retired.
So do you still get benefits and paid?
No,
somehow?
I don't get any Army benefits. I have VA benefits,
Okay.
which is, connected but separate. I get VA benefits due to injuries and other issues of serving.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't get health insurance from the military. I don't get a payment. I get points. I get 15 points a year, which is like pennies that add up to your retirement. So once I'm eligible to retire, which is when I'll be 59, then I'll get a pension from the military.
Okay, so they're not counting the number of service? Like, isn't that 25 years? Like,
Yeah, so again, not to get too technical, but because I did 21 years in the Army Reserve, 1 deployment, 10 years on active duty, 10 years reserve. If I had done 20 years active, I could retire and collect right away.
I see.
If you're reserve, you have to wait until 59
Okay.
or whatever, 60. And then for every deployment or years on active duty that are, there's ways of shortening, getting your retirement early. It's too complicated that nobody who's listening to this will care.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's why the government documents are like thousands of pages.
for me, I cannot collect retirement from the military until I'm 59 and a half. For every soldier, it's different, depending on years of service and status.
They calculate it somehow. Right. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about your current, right? Your current work, or like what you do. You mentioned that you're doing commercial now, right?
Yeah, so unfortunately, some of the clients that I've done recently, I cannot share their images until they have a chance to release it. But I've done some photos that I love for a company called Valenor, which is super cool. They create these modular emergency rooms that can deploy, and intended for combat environments, but can be used for any number of reasons. So basically, a big metal box, you open it up, and it's an emergency room. It's awesome. And so I did some photo work for them. They hope to start releasing their images next month in October, and hopefully I can share theirs. I've done some work for Caterpillar Construction, but not really them, but one of their dealership called Cleveland Brothers. So I'm in work of editing them. I've done some photos, some work for Bulkhead energy drinks, which is really good energy drinks. Like, they're really tasty, and they have 7 different flavors. It was a lot of fun to do their images because they have a very military, brawn, masculine brand. So we went to the range and shot up a bunch of guns and drank it. Well, I took sips of energy drinks. So if we chugged as many as we pretended to, we'd probably be at the hospital. So that was a lot of fun. So, and I've done some images and photos for local landscapers and other clients. Can
we see it? So which one said?
No, so I really, again, I just don't have, I don't have it on this website.
Right. What about this construction?
So construction's more my Army Corps of Engineers stuff.
Okay. All right.
So you can click on it. Okay. That's from my 4 years in government with Army Corps. But this work is similar to some of the stuff I'm doing now for other clients.
I see.
Yep.
Yeah, and I noticed too that in your website that you did some senior photos, right, for high school.
Yeah, so I have a separate brand. Okay. One Wish Reproduction to do weddings and family photography and senior portraits. I mean, I like senior portraits. I love being able to capture. That's probably actually my favorite genre is portrait photography. Yeah. If I could make, and I'm sure I could if I dedicated myself to it, but if I could make a living on just senior portraits, I probably wouldn't get bored. I do get bored with some other genre work, but I don't think I could ever get bored photographing people.
Yeah. I'm showing here to my audience about your headshots. Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
The colors and the contrast, it was excellent. Yeah. What do you think about the wedding? Do you like wedding, taking pictures of wedding?
I do.
Do you enjoy it?
I love weddings. I still do a few. I photographed my pastor's wedding. He had lost his wife to cancer a little bit ago and was remarried. So I photographed his wedding in August. and I'm photographing a wedding this Saturday, smaller ceremony. I love capturing the moments of wedding day. I really do. I cherish and love marriage. I think it's a wonderful covenant, and I love being able to celebrate that with couples as they join a union, what I call covenant before God, and hopefully spend the rest of their lives together. But I've tailored back my wedding photography primarily because I used to do them with my wife, and she was tremendous as a second shooter. But now we have 5 kids. It's a lot harder for her physically and emotionally and energetically to keep up with the demands of weddings. Wedding photography is hard work. And then, when I went from photographing weddings, when you shoot all day, so say 8 straight hours, and then you have to edit and deliver anywhere between 500 and 1,000 images or more sometimes, versus, I can take on a commercial client, more or less same hours of work, but I only have to deliver 15 to 50 images. Let's do that.
And also the emotional toll on you, like a negotiating. I don't know. Sometimes your taste and the bride and groom's taste are different, and then if their families are also I've had some really good experiences with weddings. Only minor bad stories or bridezillas. I've had only like 1 or 2 like horror stories or unpleasant experiences. For the most part, I've had really good experience with weddings. It is emotionally exhausting. I come home from photographing a wedding wrecked because I absolutely give it my all. Because they deserve it. They're paying me good money to be there and document their day. They deserve every ounce of my attention and energy. Maybe some wedding photographers may feel differently, especially if they do a lot more than I do. So I come home completely wrecked. But I love delivering. I love delivering to the client, whether it's a wedding couple or a commercial client, and getting that feedback that they're blown away. Do you sell them the package, with the book, with all those, stuff?
Yeah, for weddings, my business model was really simple. It was primarily, I would do packages where it was financially viable for me to make the sale, shoot the wedding, deliver the digitals, give them rights to reprint, and kind of incorporate that into my cost rather than trying to sell prints. So once I delivered a wedding,
that's it.
I just want to move on. And I would do some albums too, but this is just me. I always felt very, very guilty about charging $500, $1,000 for a book that you could print for like $50, maybe $150. But yes, it's my time, my labor. I'm not trying to badmouth any wedding photographer who charges $1,000 for a wedding album. I get it. It's part of your business model. To me, it felt, it was not integral to how I like to do business.
I think it's just your passion is to take the picture itself.
Deliver,
the producing, the taking it,
So I would do packages with albums included, if
as simple as possible. It's not like whatever. Sometimes people are so complicated. It's just like trying to program your cell phone or something.
And some couples love the idea of just paying a professional to do it for them, and it doesn't matter what it costs to them. They're just happy for it to be done properly and to the highest quality. And I get that.
And especially like for you, your offering is for the first, like you can do commercial headshots, senior photos. So, but I understand that sometimes like people like only do wedding, right? So I guess they can cut down all this overhead about, producing, giving or selling whatever stuff, right? It's easy for them because it's just only one workflow, right? But for you, there's so many workflows and
and there's actually something to be said about that. In your audience, if you're a photographer and you want to do it professionally, you want to do it full time, don't do what I'm doing. Don't be a wedding photographer and headshot photographer and baby photographer and family photographer and commercial photographer and everything else. Pick one genre that you're the best at. that excites you and gives you the most energy. Specialize in that and go all in on that.
Yeah.
Because of my Army experience, I kind of learned to become a Swiss Army knife and do it all really well. But you could very well argue I could be making a lot more money by typically the photographers who do the best financially niche down and do fewer things better.
Yeah. But honestly, I love what you do, man. I think the passion, and for me also, I think the passion is the picture itself. Capturing the moment, capturing the lights, capturing the emotion. If I get that, and then the environment, you can set it up, or you can happen to be at the right time at the right place, and then it's just awesome. I mean, it's like magic,
Yeah.
And then if you do that every day, you enjoy it every day. It doesn't matter what kind of pictures, you just feel alive.
Moments. Yeah,
right.
I've been blessed with various photography mentors in my Army career, military career, and they would always stress above composition, above colors and contrast in your editing, nail the moment. The moment is the most, capturing the moment, the essence of that instant is more important than any of the technical side.
Okay. So talking about this about the moment, I'm just right now something is just like flashing in my head. So when you when you're in your military assignment, right? How many camera bodies do you have?
I would always carry 2.
Okay, all right.
And but unfortunately, the kits that are equipped to our military photojournalists only usually come with 1.
Oh,
and it's difficult to get funding to give every photographer 2 cameras, which is, I think, a disservice to our military photojournalists. There's a lot of exceptions. Again, if you work for a unit that really values photojournalism and your craft, they'll fund that extra camera body and the extra lenses. So there's exceptions everywhere in the military. Generally speaking, most military photographers that are in service, they only get a kit with 1 camera body, which is a shame. Because I think having 2 camera bodies, not having to, especially in dusty, dirty environments, like you don't want to be switching lenses in that. Like I've wrecked so many of my lenses just from shooting in those environments. And imagine me on a helicopter switching a lens and that thing just flies out of the back of the Chinook. Like that'd be terrible.
Yeah.
So usually 2 camera bodies, 2 zoom lenses. Most of the time, either something really wide like a 17 to 35, or possibly a 24 to 70 on one, and a 70 to 200 on the other.
Yeah. And, why I remember about that, because you mentioned about your experience in Iraq, where all the kids are like running to you. And, in the back of my head, I was going to ask, but I stopped myself because like, what camera did you have at that time?
Yeah.
Did you have like a long lens or like a short lens?
So back then, again, I was not into photography. I only had 1 camera body. It would be the Nikon D200 at the time, with 1 lens. I would have an extra lens in my bag and whatnot. But it was really unpleasant being a photographer in Iraq, because you would have your vest with a plate, which weigh about, bulletproof vest, which weigh about 30, 40 pounds. Then you had your rifle, then a helmet, and then the camera strap, and everything always got tangled up in your Humvees or getting in and out of helicopters, like buckling and unbuckling. So it was really unpleasant. So I can't imagine with having all that gear, then also having 2 camera bodies.
Yeah.
So
probably should have a GoPro or something, like for a wide body.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I think even like right now, with the convenience of a cell phone, right? I sometimes when I do street, have my long lens and a cell phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great.
Right, it's like whatever, right? For like a wide body or like some standard distance, use a cell phone.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and talking about kits now. Okay, let's circle back to the kits. Like 5 kits.
Yeah, what was I thinking? Where do they come from?
Exactly. Well, I couldn't understand because you are from the family of 5, right? So I mean, the memory of having a big family, and then you are a very considerate, tolerant person. You thought about the costs of your own education, and then you pick a path that would not burden your parents so much. That's awesome. And
I appreciate it.
And
so, if there's any young men listening to this right now, and they love photography, they love storytelling, they have a passionate career, the main piece of advice I want to give everyone out there is that no matter what you want to do in life, having kids and having a family makes it better. There are times, yes, absolutely. There are times when having children, quote unquote, gets in the way of your ambition, right? Like there are times when I would sinfully and very selfishly complain, like, if I didn't have so many kids, I could have been doing this, this, and this, and that. But realistically, having a wife and kids and having that calling to provide for them makes you more motivated to focus on how do you serve others and how can you invest in ways that are good for society and good for others because you have your kids and your family at the center of your focus. If you're a young man and you have an ambitious career, get married and have kids, first of all. That's way more important than any career that you could pursue. I never wanted this many kids. I thought 2 kids is fine, right? We never like tried or like forced our way into having 5 kids. It was just through loving each other and being married, and things happen. But it's funny because, again, we were moving around a lot. I got married before Iraq, came back. We had our first kid a little bit later in our marriage, within the first 4 years, but later than we wanted, in Pittsburgh. Then we moved to Illinois, we had another kid. Then we moved to Maryland, we had 2 kids. Then we moved to North Carolina, no kids, but we're still averaging 1 kid and 1 new house per move. And then we moved back to Pittsburgh and we had our 5th. Mm. So, so we had 4 straight boys, oldest 13, and then the youngest is a girl. Mm. So 4 boys and a girl. And I love it. I love, obviously I love them. I love the fact that I can instill in them a desire to love others. We love God and they love God more than I do. My oldest son can probably knows scripture, the Bible verses way better than I do. He's studious and kind and gentle. He's everything I used to be until not necessarily join the military, but he's everything I used to be once upon a time. He's a very kind, gentle soul. And
that's wonderful. Yeah. So if I may ask, so in the political spectrum, where are you?
Oh, very conservative.
Very conservative. What about your wife?
She's more conservative than me. Like, way more. Like I used to be more moderate, even in some cases liberal in college. My wife has made me way more conservative, and having kids does. I think there's a reality that you face when you realize, again, for political spectrum, liberals tend to think that, hey, solutions are in government and government can help solve most of the problems and alleviate the pains and sufferings of our society. So liberals tend to place their faith in government, right? Conservatives, at least the way I interpret it, is that I place most of my hope, obviously in God first, but in the model of the family. I think you solve the majority of societal problems by fixing the family. You know, when you look at, I have 2 friends who I have one friend who is a counselor at the Allegheny County Jail, and I have another friend who goes there almost every single Monday and does prison ministry at the Allegheny County Jail. They will both tell you that the vast majority of that population, 30-some% of incarcerated prisoners are Black, 50-some% are white, the rest are, any other ethnicity. What they almost all have in common is not having a father. Whether you're Black, you're white, you're Asian, you're Middle Eastern, you're Hispanic, the vast majority of the prison population grew up either with an abusive father or a father who abandoned them. You fix the family, you invest in fatherhood, you can fix society.
Yeah, and I agree with you about having a full family really helps, right? Yep. Because otherwise, living here in the United States, is hard, right? Especially with the healthcare, for example,
Sure.
right? And sometimes when for in Pittsburgh, probably less so. That probably a lot of families can survive, can live happily, financially sustainable with one income, right?
Mhm.
But in a lot of other cities, or especially the bigger cities, right? You can't. You have to have like a two income earners in the household to be
Mhm.
able to live, well, not well, just enough,
Sure.
right? Yeah, but
Yeah.
and then not have, and like when you have only like a one parent and one income earner in the household, that puts a lot of stress, right? So
Tremendous. Yeah.
they rely on other people's support, including the government. And government, I think we could not label just like one government will do this. There are people behind this government.
Sure.
They have millions and millions of pages, but not everything they follow those pages. It's really up to the people. If the people are lousy, their policy or their implementation of the policy are going to be lousy, right?
Mhm.
And same with with my other guests too. But AI is great, but then who's running it, right? It's human,
Sure.
right? If and humans, we know that we are full of fallacy, we have full of sins, right? And we make mistakes, right? And that's the hard part. If we pick just like a one solution for all,
Yeah.
doesn't work, right? I think for me, relying on the government could be true, could be okay. Relying on the family model could be true, could be okay. Relying on the other kind of models could be true, could be okay. But it depends, right? Just like raising kids. Now, raising kids in the public school will not work for everybody. Raising kids in private school will not work for everybody. Raising kids through homeschool will not work for everybody. It depends, right? Because everybody is different. But then the hard part is for us sometimes that it's easier, right? And easy. I mean, what's your priority, right? For example, that people, oh, I have to work. I cannot teach my kids about blah 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 blah. So just put them from 7 a.m. till 3 p.m. in school, and I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to worry about it. Let them have the teachers or whatever, the tutors to help them with the homework, right? But then for some kids it works.
Yeah.
For some kids, like complete hell, right?
Yeah.
So that's the hard part, right? So I know, right now I'm independent. I used to be conservative, and then in college I used to be liberal, right? Like my brother used to say, yeah, you're liberal until you get your first paycheck, and then you see the tax.
Yeah, and how those taxes get used.
Right.
So may I respond to?
Yeah.
You obviously covered a lot of issues that require probably multiple podcasts to unpack or work through. But the one item I want to mention, there's no discount. There's no discounting or negating the hardship that especially single family households face. Single mothers are in a position where they need assistance, no doubt. But I want to mention, and it's true, living in the city is way more expensive. This is more anecdotal, so it's not like I have data. I have anecdotal stories to kind of indicate this point. So we primarily have always been, my wife and I, a single income family, right? Right now I'm actually getting two incomes because I left federal government, and I'm still receiving paychecks until the end of this month.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I go full time with my business. So technically I'm having two incomes right now, but all my life I've been the only income provider for my family and my wife, and we have 5 kids. When we moved to Pittsburgh with 5 kids, we moved to a house with essentially one master bedroom and 1 bedroom. All 4 of our boys share 1 bedroom, right? We had a playroom attic space that we turned into a bedroom for the girl, for Misha, once she was born, right? A major problem we have with this persistence of 2 family incomes is this idea that this over expenditure of our means, this lack of satisfaction in what we have and how to make it last as long as possible, right? The anecdotes I want to share is that my wife handles much of the budget for our household. I make the money, she spends it, because she spends it wisely. She budgets, most of our household income is budgeted by her. She's gone so good at budgeting for our family, a family of 5, with one income, that she has helped friends and family members who have 2 incomes. And almost always she discovers that, and these are people who are struggling financially, and they have 2 incomes. They're making more money than us and have fewer kids than us. And almost always they're just spending too much money on things that they don't need. That is not to say that people don't have hardships, right? I am talking about a separate issue here, but oftentimes you have families with 2 incomes and they have debt that surpasses their monthly intake because they're spending it on things that are not necessities. I think I do love capitalism in the general sense that it allows us to actually earn and own what we have, but in a materialistic society, we increase our demands and our wants beyond our ability to actually provide and earn. And that's a major problem I think we see in our nation for needing 2 incomes.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. I think it's all, I wish that all kids, the students, in K-12, they are taught about that, right? Either case studies or, looking at the situations or the way people live in outside America, for example, right? Like a living, like a almost, I think up to high school, I share a bedroom with my brother.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I know that my other 2 brothers, older brothers, they also share bedroom, which is common, right? And then also the stories about here when we have immigrant families living here, and they share sometimes like a one house for 2 families, completely 2 different families, and they share expenses. So to reduce their overhead, to reduce their cost of living.
Yeah.
And you're right. Sometimes that their, what is it called, financial knowledge, right?
That's something that I wish
the
education system really prepared young men and women for, is to just how to run your finances.
Yeah, and to know that like for example, when you go outside, you go to downtown, when you look at people driving a fancy cars, BMW, Mercedes, you don't know their wealth. Their numbers could be in the red, in the like 7 digits, right?
Yeah.
Nobody knows, right? They could be just borrowing in that materials, that luxury goods, but they actually cannot afford it, right?
Right.
I don't know. I'm not paid by him, but I like to plug in that one. Dave Ramsey, right?
Yeah, Dave Ramsey was actually big for us in our lives early on.
Yeah, so I think I recommend you. I listen to him like occasionally, right? It's good.
It's good advice, family advice for finances.
Common sense, like reduce the expenses and then see what are the good stuff. I mean, what are the necessity, right?
Yeah.
The ones, separating the wants and the needs. I think that's key,
mm-hmm.
right? So for being conservative and then living in Pittsburgh, do you,
mm-hmm.
I know that you live outside the city of Pittsburgh.
Sure.
But, what's your experience? I mean, do you have any?
Well, I mean, I used to. I mean, I don't. I'll be honest with you. I don't follow local Pittsburgh politics because I don't live in the city, and it doesn't impact me. So I live in the suburbs, and I think that's honestly great and better, generally speaking. It does seem like most of the time when you live in a city, you tend to be more liberal in mindset. Everything's kind of clustered and tight, and much more expensive. So I don't know how to answer that question other than the fact that I choose not to live in the city because cities tend to be more liberal, but they also tend to, in my opinion, fester their own problems through liberal ideas and politics that are only making life either more dangerous for its citizens or more expensive for its citizens. So I'm not a country boy. Like I don't know that I could live out in the boonies, in the sticks, if I didn't have at least a grocery store within 10, 15 minutes. But the suburbs for me is right. It gives me enough room so I can let the kids play in the backyard. You know, we have a trampoline. We have a pretty ruddy backyard with toys littering the yard. We have a trampoline and our own little space where the kids can play safely. I don't think that cities are ideal for families or for living.
Okay. And for you having 5 kids, right? So how do you see, or let me put it this way.
This other water. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So what's your plan to teach your kids to make sure you agree with the path that they're choosing?
So we cannot control our children. I know many, many families whose children walked away from the faith. And that's just going to happen. But my job, so what is the chief end of man? What is the primary goal that we have on this earth? Is to glorify God and enjoy him forever. From that, everything is a byproduct of that. By loving God, we love people. Our primary goal, especially in recent years, we've decided that we no longer, we were saving for colleges. The moment that Phoenix was born, we started saving for his college. And then we started getting a second son, a third, and we had 5. It's like, goodness gracious, this money's not going to go anywhere. Like at this rate that we're saving it, this money's not going to go anywhere. And my wife went to college to Point State Park. I went to college at Pitt. College is becoming more and more expensive. We made a decision that the goal should not be college for our kids. Absolutely not. For the amount of money you invest and spend in that education and what you get in return, that's not for everybody. It's simply not. So what we decided is like, let's find out who our children are, what their passions and their talents are, and make a decision on whether or not we want to help them prepare for college financially and academically based on what they actually desire. So Phoenix, our oldest boy, he's very cerebral. He is very intellectual. That boy is either going to become an engineer or a biologist or a pastor, right? Those are 3 careers that require higher education in an academic environment with professors who are specialized in those realms, right? My other boys, I mean, they're young, so things can change. They either want to be business owners like I am right now, run their own restaurants, run an ice cream shop. So, I mean, they're young, so their ideas are very in the realm of what they understand. But regardless, there are programs where we can put them in like a $10,000 coding class, and you go straight out of that into 97% likelihood of employment, making more than I'm making right now, right? Either in coding or whatever. There's blue collar jobs, electricians, what is that called? The skilled labor that you can make and run your own business extremely well without having stepped foot on a college campus. So I know your question was not about education, but I want to lead with that. That there are tremendous options to set up your children for success, to be contributors to society, provide a service to others without indebting them with $50,000 to $100,000 worth of student loans. I don't want any of them to go in the military, but that's besides the point. If they want to be in the military, sure, they can. So that's the academic preparation for growing up, right? We homeschool, my wife homeschool our children. Our main foundation for them is not how well do you do math, how well do you write, how well do you read, but how much do you love God? Everything else is secondary to that. So we want to raise children first to be good stewards of the creation that we have, people who love people, who serve others. The skills and the education is a byproduct of that. I went to college with a degree in creative English writing, and now I'm a photographer, video producer. I've never went to college once to learn how to click a button to make a picture. I learned it through doing, right? So primarily, I want to raise boys to be men who love their wives, have a desire for children, and bless the society through their families. And my daughter, I want her to be a wife who loves her husband, loves children, and same thing, like has a desire to contribute to society through her God-given talents and gifts. Whatever they do in their careers is an afterthought. If they grow up one day and reject God, so be it. That's not in my control. I can't control that. I will equip them to understand the Bible, be able to defend it in their own words, and live it out as authentically and as truly as they can. There are many young people who have fallen away from the faith, even within the churches that I've dwelt in and worshiped with. That's a reality, and hopefully it doesn't happen, but can't control it. I cannot control that. I can only equip them to the best of my abilities. And that's what, every parent ought to want, is to equip your children to succeed. And the funny thing, and maybe some listeners might be thinking, you're just indoctrinating your children. Everybody indoctrinates children. We indoctrinate children from the moment they're born. So it's a matter of what are you indoctrinating them into? What values are you teaching them? And I just happen to want to instill in them values that I believe in.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And especially in regards to the indoctrination, right? Like when people say, oh, we try to be unbiased about certain things. No, I mean, the moment you're born, you're already biased.
Yes.
Right. So, I mean, I know that there are some to the extreme or not, but, you're saying that you have to approach things in an unbiased way. It's impossible. I think the one thing that we have to do, or I think as parents, we want to instill critical thinking, right?
Yeah.
So they know right and wrong. Of course, like we try to bias them towards what we think is right, right? But then it's up to them, because we're not going to be alive forever, right? They have to carry the torch and have to survive.
Sure.
And I hope, and I think us as parents, hopefully, if they make the right choices, if they make the right decisions, then they will be okay. Right?
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's always the case, for our world. Right.
Yeah.
So with this situations that we're facing right now, I mean, with the Charlie Kirk murder, it just happened, a week or 2 weeks ago, right? And this episode probably is going to be dropped probably a month after the murder, right? So probably this is old news probably already for some of you guys, but I'm going to ask you anyways, right? So how are you concerned as a parent with the way things are going right now?
Actually, I'm optimistic in the sense of the aftermath. The majority of the response to the death of Charlie Kirk actually gives me tremendous hope. I won't necessarily call it a revival in the traditional sense, but there was a major shift that happened in our country. I'll get to the bad stuff in a second. There's a major shift in the country that I noticed of young men and women realizing how horrendous that assassination was, and what I would say, their eyes were open to what I would call major disinformation campaigns that had happened in the social media atmosphere, where let me be specific, because I'm kind of talking generalities. Main accusations of Charlie Kirk being a bigot, a racist, shutting down, being just a debate bro, all that stuff. A lot of people after his assassination went back and looked at the footage, instead of like these 30-second clips of pre-edited, preconceived notions of who Charlie Kirk was. They went back and watched long-form debates and campus discussions that he's had. And from that, many of them I'm noticing are waking up to the idea that things are not as they seem or as they're presented in the media and social media sphere. A lot of, unfortunately, my own friends I have believe it or not, a lot of liberal friends, or at least acquaintances. We don't communicate as much as we used to. They're very staunch in their positions, and I have tried to share a few videos with them of debates from Charlie Kirk that dispel some of the rumors, accusations of him being a racist and a bigot. And the response has been like, I'm not watching that. And that's fine. I can't change your mind, and that's fine. But I'm mostly optimistic because a large number of Americans and people around the globe have noticed the attacks, started watching content, and as a byproduct, because I think that Charlie Kirk was a genuine Christian who believed in faith. His faith was in Jesus Christ for salvation and eternal hope. And because it was his faith that informed his political views, not his political views that informed his faith, I would call Charlie Kirk a martyr in that sense, because as a Christian, I love God. I love people through God, through his commandments. And because of that, I believe certain things about how a society should run, right? If I'm politically active, or if I'm active in society because of my faith and I'm outspoken about my faith, then I think it's a consistency of thought and byproduct. So I would call Charlie Kirk a martyr in the sense that he never shied from placing his hope and faith in God first. And he was very vocal about his Christian beliefs. And because his faith informed his beliefs about society, he was killed for it. And that, therefore, I do think he's a martyr. The response, the 60, I don't know what the actual number is, the 60,000+ people who attended his memorial, the millions of people who watched at least a part of it through live stream gives me some hope. There has been a trajectory in recent years where more young people have been going to church and been turning to faith instead of turning away from faith. That gives me hope. We unfortunately live in a violent society, and a lot of the violence occurs when we stop talking.
Right. And I agree with you that I think, we have to continue talking despite our differences. Right. I think it used to be easy to say, agree to disagree.
Yeah,
right?
That's not so easy now.
Now, yeah, now it's like it's so rare to hear that, right?
Yeah.
It's like at the end of the conversation, like, oh, okay, let's just drop it, not drop it. Let's just agree to disagree, right?
Sure.
It's so rare, Thank you for sharing your personal thought about this. I think everybody should listen to it, and It's like funny about this. I was like watching about this. Stephen Colbert and then Jimmy Kimmel about them being canceled, which is unfortunate. I think it should not have happened. Well, I guess he got reinstated. But there was an interview by Stephen Colbert interviewing Justice Sonia Sotomayor. And then Stephen asked her, like, how are you able to talk, or like, I could not remember what, exactly what he asked in the sentence, but basically it's like, how could you be with those justices that you disagree with? And then Justice Sonia Sotomayor is just like, I always think about the positives of the person, right?
Yeah.
That's it's a good quote.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's not the right quote, but that's what I take, right? It's
Yeah.
like you have to remember the positive side of each person,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's good. Then you remember them by it, right? Sure, probably there are certain things that they say something that you disagree with, and it should be okay to disagree, right?
Sure.
It's not a violation of whatever, right? You just disagree. You have a different nuance. You have the different biases, right? That's why we disagree, and it's okay. But then it's not the reason to hate them. It's not the reason to get them, kill them or eliminate them.
Yeah.
It's just a disagreement. But then if you remember, the positive side, what things that the person says or does, a lot of it makes sense, right? So we just have to
Yeah, I think I have a similar perspective that I often forget, especially on social media. I'm often much more impatient than I should be on social media. Much more aggressive, and I really need to stop. But ultimately, the thing that better men than me remind me of and are diligent in is that even your enemy is an image bearer of God. And so God created us all in his image. And because of that, at the very least, we ought to honor their image because we honor God. And then also we are commanded to love our enemies, which is so difficult.
That's right. I mean, otherwise he would have just created, everybody's the same. Identical, right?
Yeah, thank goodness that God's created.
Exactly.
We're all different.
Right?
Yeah, and maybe this is a side topic. I don't know if it fits in the conversation at all, but I do believe that generally, like, we are one human race. What we often call racism is tribalism. We unite in groups of people and we attack each other based on our tribe. Which is, conflict as old as time. And I think we have to remember that we are one human race.
Yep. I agree with that. And let's close with that. Thank you very much.
God bless you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you.